we have to read, so I'm going to go through those. This is to ensure that our meetings are compliant with the right to know law during our state of emergency in the state of New Hampshire. As chairman of the Board of Selectmen, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are A, providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We are utilizing the YouTube live stream for this electronic meeting, and all members of the board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through the platform of Zoom, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting by dialing the following phone number, 603-236-4730, or by clicking on the following website address, www.watervillevalley.org. And there's also a text availability at 603-254-6708. We are B, providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting, including how to access the meeting using Zoom or telephonically. Instructions have been provided on the website of the town. That's again at www.waterville.org. C, we are providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are any problems with access. If anybody has a problem, please call 603-236-4730 or email at townofwv@watervillevalley.org. And D, we will adjourn the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state whether there is anyone in the room with you during the meeting, which is required under the right to know law. And this is Margaret Turner, chair of the board, and I am alone except for random cats.
This is Rich Rita. I am the vice chair and I'm alone and I have my door closed because I don't want my random cats today.
Mike Aronson, I'm alone.
Okay. The first thing we have on our agenda today is COVID-19 update, Mark.
Thank you, Margaret. Really not a lot to report. The state is doing pretty well as far as numbers. And here in town, we've not had any other numbers reported to us. Chris and Dave, I don't know if you have anything in particular numbers-wise that you wanted to talk about. We seem to have good, not getting a lot of calls or anything about non-compliance with masks that I'm aware of. Nothing in the police reports or anything that I've seen. So we don't seem to be, that seems to be going well. People have had overall, I think, some positive comments to us about the masks at the community meeting and such. So I think overall we're doing pretty well.
Okay. Chris, Dave, anything to add to that?
I don't have anything to add. It's been pretty good in town as far as everything COVID. I think people are cooperating. We're getting a lot of good feedback. from the resolution, which is good to hear. So no problems at all.
Okay. Okay. Well, that is good news. I would just continue to say, because I hear a lot of people talking on the TV that they're concerned that people are letting their guard down or that this has gone away or that kind of thing. And so lots of encouragement out there to keep wearing the mask, keep doing the social distance, because that's what's really allowed us to get to the point that we're at today. So we want to make sure that we continue to follow those practices, and someday soon or later, who knows, we may have a vaccine that will be helpful. But until we do that, I think it's important to keep everybody on their toes with respect to mask wearing and social distancing, both, within town employees, but also within the town itself. I have noticed an increase in mask wearing in town squares specifically. Mike, you work there, so I don't know whether you've noticed it or not, but it seems to me that more often when I go into town square now, people are wearing their masks. So we just want to encourage that to continue. Any other comments? Okay.
Margaret, can I just add, for people who are looking for the current numbers, under NewHampshire.gov, if you go to the dashboard, it tells you the most current numbers in the state. So as of yesterday, only 236 confirmed cases in the whole state and only 7 hospitalizations. We're getting those a little more infrequently, those reports, but at any time, DHHS directed me that anyone can pull up that dashboard at any time and get those numbers.
Yeah, I used to look at it on a daily basis, but I'm very encouraged by the fact that the number of hospitalizations has definitely been going down. A few weeks ago, it was up in the 20s, and now it's below 10, and it seems to be steadying out. And I don't know whether they didn't catch the things that happened at the various colleges, or whether by the time they caught them, they were over. Do you know anything about that, Dave or Chris?
I haven't heard anything about that. I'm not sure if they're reporting those numbers because they're possibly, if they're out of state, they're getting reported to their own state. If they're getting sent home, I'm not sure if that may be happening.
Okay. Okay.
One thing I did notice about the town by town is Durham has an unusually high number, so maybe they caught some and maybe they didn't. I don't know. Right,
at University of New Hampshire. Yeah. Okay. All righty. Next thing on the agenda, privilege of the floor number 1. Do we have any privilege of the floor?
Margaret, could we go down in your packet towards the end and just have Matt Hesser, take care of Matt Hesser. This is in regards to the email that you see in there under item number 11, paragraph 18 on your packet, the extension of the noise ordinance request.
Okay.
Do we handle that right away?
Yes, we can handle that right away. So there's been a proposal that for a wedding that is coming up on the 18th of September, the party has requested an extension of the noise ordinance from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock at night. I would like to hear from, I don't know, our public safety people. Have we been getting noise complaints more than usual, or do you have any opinion about whether we should do this? I know we have a lot more people in town.
Chris and I talked about, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, and I want Dave to jump in at any time. I didn't get to brief him on this. We have been getting a significant increase in noise complaints at night. I think it's just related to population density now. A good part of our noise complaints are after 11 o'clock, which is the time that they want to extend the ordinance to. So And Dave can totally disagree with me if he wants, but I don't have an objection to that, to watch and see what happens. A lot of the noise issues we get are from wedding parties or lack of after parties at the weddings, where they will just go to town square and hang out, and those calls come in 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. So I wouldn't object to giving that a try, and I'd like to hear from Dave on that too.
What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, I think I agree with Chris. I think most of the issue is the after parties. They seem to be fine when they're at the venues, and within the venues themselves, they seem to be okay, and pretty in control. Where we're seeing, like Chris said, where we're seeing them is afterwards. They don't have any place to go, so they are hanging out in the outdoor, just public spaces, and we're addressing those types of issues. So, maybe perhaps we can get some support if we allow them to go to 11, but really impress upon them what it means after 11 and where they are and what they're doing after that point. Get some support from the resort to help us out a little bit, so we're not getting those calls at 1 and 2 a.m.
Matt, is this just a timing thing with this wedding?
Yeah, so this actually, I don't know if you guys saw the email we sent out again this morning. We actually received another one for October 3rd as well. So if might behoove us just to kind of roll those into the same conversation. So for the 18th, it had to do with they needed to shift their schedule and requested a 5 to 11 time frame at the conference center when it's normally 4 to 10. And then on the 3rd, we're having an issue with the lack of not having a location for people to go, like an after party for people to go. And so we're trying to meet halfway and not force a new problem into town square or something along those lines. And maybe if we can get them to stay with us kind of thing another hour, maybe that might alleviate some of the problems with our hope for the 3rd.
Okay. Rich, Mike, do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a comment. Back to bicycles and everything else and COVID. Why don't we work on, I think, since we're finding out that we are having issues now with after parties with weddings because of no place to do that, what about having the wedding coordinators, be more upfront with what you can and can't do? Just like we want you to have a good time, but, this is a place where people live and noise carries. So please, after your party, please be, conscious of people living here.
Yeah, we're happy to communicate that to the couple. Yeah.
Okay. Rich, any comments?
I'm generally in favor of it. It's an hour. It's not a lot of time. Most of the noise complaints are later. As I think you and Mike know, I live in an area where we hear everything because of the height. So I understand what the issue is when it comes to noise. And perhaps it's something we could do as a town to help the couple start off on a nice path.
There you go.
Okay.
I also
Okay.
have a problem with extending our noise things on weekends for weddings to 11 o'clock. If we're getting our complaints after 11, if we're getting our complaints earlier, let the people enjoy their wedding, let them have fun, and let them, see a certain amount of reasonableness from us.
Okay. Mark, is that something that we can do and put a time restriction on it? Like, I don't know if we want to change the ordinance entirely, but I know that the selectmen can approve a later time. Can we approve a later time for the specific reason of weddings on weekends?
I don't know. I'll find out, and we can make that your policy at the next meeting if you can.
Okay, because this is just a selectmen's ordinance, correct?
Well, a lot of these selectmen's ordinances were adopted by town meeting vote, and that's what I need to check on. So.
All right. So for the moment, why don't we just approve the 2 occasions which Matt has requested. One of them was September 18th, and when is the other one, Matt?
October 3rd.
And October 3rd. So I'm going to make a motion that we extend change the time when the noise ordinance goes into effect to 11 o'clock instead of 10 o'clock on the dates of September 18th and October 3rd. Can I have a second?
This is Rich. I'll second that motion.
All right. And all in favor? Margaret says aye.
Rich, aye.
Mike, aye.
Okay. You're all set, Matt.
Thank you guys so much for your time. Appreciate
All
it.
right, thank you, Matt.
Sure.
Okay, where would you like to go next, Mark?
I think,
We're at privilege of the floor. Do you want to have David?
yeah, if you want to go over, that's the land issue. That's
Right.
item number, I'm looking for it.
8D.
Number 8D,
D.
sorry,
Yeah.
8D.
Yeah.
So if you want to take that now, you can.
Okay. 8D. All right, David, you had something you wanted to say about the land?
Absolutely. I'd like to encourage freeze before he goes ahead and sells it to the private owners at North Country. As you know, it's a beautiful 13.5 acre stretch of essentially meadowlands that border all the way on the Mad River. It's an ideal piece of land for a variety of community park usages. Let me talk just briefly about my pet peeve, the issue of the dog park. The number of dogs visiting Waterville Valley has increased phenomenally, as have the number of visitors to Waterville Valley. Oh, by the way, I've been connected to Waterville Valley since 1957. I was a ski racer at Dartmouth. I sidestepped up the old Tecumseh downhill, and 10 years before there were any tows. I've been a resident here for the last 30 years, and I consider Waterville Valley to be a near paradise. I'm very, very grateful to all of you folks pictured on my screen for the hours and hours of work you've put in to make Waterville a near paradise for me. If my vegetable garden had survived well this year, this could easily have been my best year, the best year of my life. Thank you very much, you people. Now, let me talk just about dog parks. In the northeast corner of that 13.5 acres, and the 13.5 acres is probably the equivalent of a dozen Packard fields. It's all flat land. But in the northeast corner, just down below Russ Carlisle's house, that would be the nearest house, and West Branch Road, there's some big boulders, some standing water, probably spring fed. It would be an ideal place for a dog park. Dog parks are great things for community. That it's a place where the dogs can be off leash, running around with other dogs, and dog owners can meet one another and form a little bit of friendship with people I might not even exchange a word with otherwise. Also, with a dog park in that tiny portion, we could bring in the professional dog trainers from Plymouth and let them train kids in showing their dogs tricks. So at the end of the year, we could have a dog show, crown the Westminster best in the Waterville Border Collie way down at one end of the field. Up at the other end of the field are a bunch of sheep. And then there's an obstacle course. And the border collie is going to be let loose at the same time that 3 sheep are let loose. And he runs up there and herds those sheep through all the obstacles. And the border collie is just marvelous. He controls those sheep by giving them the evil eye. If you've been there to watch the audience, you would have seen the sheep lose track of what they were supposed to do and go wandering off somewhere. And all of the women in the audience said, "See, just like my husband." And then you'd see the little border collie who would get down on all fours and give those sheep the evil eye to scare them back to where they went. And all the husbands would say, "See, just like my wife." Sheep trials, guard dog trials, tracking trials by dog, numerous little events of that sort. For example, there is a snow sculpture bunch that goes from area to area in the wintertime. Ideal kind of thing. I guess maybe they make a dog sculpture, in which case I'm still on topic. Right? All that can happen. I'm not talking about the many other community uses, dry fly only, community gardens, exhibits by the Squam Science Center, berry picking, and really on and on. It's gorgeous territory. The problem of letting it go to private owners, like the high country people, is that they don't have the machinery, they don't have the energy to develop this into a community resource. In fact, as private owners, once they sign that thing, then they're going to confront the issue of liability. And I'm sure their insurance companies and their lawyers are going to encourage them to further restrict usage of that land over the current usage that it has. Anyway, this is a phenomenal opportunity for the town to do something to improve the quality of life of people who come. I'm a huge fan of the current management of the ski area, but the ski area in about 1980 was listed by Ski Magazine as one of the top 10 ski resorts in the United States. That's an exaggeration. However, in the last 20 years, regardless of the owners, and I'm a huge fan of the current management, regardless of the owners, Waterville Valley has experienced a decline in the skier visits to New Hampshire. The skier visits to New Hampshire have stayed roughly the same, but that's misleading because the population of New England states has increased 45%. And now Waterville's share of New Hampshire skier visits is less than Gunstock's. We're somewhere in 5th place, more or less. Waterville ski area is fantastic. I love it. But I personally think that COVID-19 has been the best piece of marketing that Waterville has experienced in the last 20 years.
Okay, David, can I just interrupt you because we're a little bit off topic, and I think it would be useful if we just again stated what the selectmen concerns are about that property and have it on the record. We are in receipt of a letter from Bob Freeze where he basically said that the land had been used as a dumping site. For instance, after the conference or the inn burn, that some of the things that were up there were basically dumped there, that other things have been dumped there. And we have a concern about liability for being ordered to clean that up if in fact the town did approve at a town meeting to buy the piece of land. And we have yet to see anything. I mean, the last conversation we had about this was if the Waterville company would undertake the assessment and cleanup of that area, it would be something that we would be more comfortable talking to the voters about. But at this point in time, I don't see that that has happened. And until that happens, we can't put a dog park or a picnic area or a berry picking area or anything else there. And so that is what we are waiting. We understand that the town has expressed some positive views about the town owning the land. But if it's going to be $1 million cleanup, I think that's going to change. We don't know what the answer is to that right now.
Every small town in Vermont, Maine, and New Hampshire had a town dump. And most of those towns were substantially bigger than Little Waterville Valley. The likelihood of its being $1 million cleanup, where does a number like that come from?
I don't know, because nobody has done an assessment to tell us.
So you would, okay, nobody has done an assessment, and we're in danger of letting this go to private owners in high country with the likelihood that it will not be developed at all for use by the townspeople.
Right, because we do not have the answer to that question.
This is Rich. I would also note that it is zoned recreation. So whoever the owner is would have to abide by that particular zoning requirement.
Okay. That
Mark, I'm sorry, Mark, did you have anything else to add? Because I know you've been through the ins and outs of all this.
There we go. I can see the positives that David's bringing out. I think it is as simple as getting the get out of jail free letter from DES signed off that there isn't any issue going forward, which we have asked the Waterville company to do. And then once we get that letter, I would support everything that David said. There's a lot of possible uses for it. And in fact, the other issue that I have on the agenda today for you guys to talk about with that EPA permit, that may be, we don't know until we look at it, but that may be a usable site even for that issue. So I think there's a lot of positives to the town owning it if we can overcome that one issue that Margaret talked about. And if unlike you, Margaret, I think we have said that pretty clearly to the Waterville company. And if they would come back to us and say, here's what we'll do, we'll work with you to get that clearance from DES, let's move forward with it. You know, let's put it up before the voters. I'd do it in the 2021 town meeting easily. You know, I'd even recommend that you guys consider a conditional P&S if the landfill issue is taken care of. There's a lot of possible uses that the town as a public matter would be able to use that land for. I mean, we've got our water line on it with the easement issue, and I mean, there's a lot of things going on with that parcel. I think it would be very beneficial for us to have it.
I completely concur with you, Mark and David.
Zoom meeting?
Okay. So
Should I send him the link?
yes.
And
So-
you know, I would note that
Bob-
David, go ahead.
So Bob wants to call in. We're giving him the Zoom link so that he can join us. And I think that if we get an agreement with him to move forward, that it would be great to have that parcel if that's cleared up.
Bob is being pressured by a hard offer from the high country people And
Well,
what are you going to do to stop him from accepting that offer?
yeah, well, I don't know that we can. David, I don't think it's in the town. I don't think the town should actively seek to try to prevent a buyer from buying land. That's not, I don't think that's what a town should do. But if that were to fall through, if he's got an actual purchase and sale or whatever it is, then I don't know that we should step in to stop that from happening. What I'm saying is, if the landfill issue is cleared up, then and the land were offered to us with a clear letter from the DES, then sure, I have no problem with taking this to the town meeting.
And we had an agreed price, I would.
Yeah, I had an agreed price. Yeah, right, absolutely. Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, there are private property rights at issue here too, that I think I'd be very wary of interposing the town into that.
We couldn't do that anyway because we don't have the approval of the voters.
Yeah,
There
we
is
don't.
that.
Yeah, everything that we're talking about is conditioned upon approval at a town in the future. So.
Which we've talked about in the past several times.
Right. Did Bob get in? No? No Bob Freeze?
Bob has got the link. He's coming, hopefully coming right on.
Okay.
I really, what I'm hearing,
Mark,
I mean, yeah, go ahead.
can I get on the record as saying that I excuse myself from all conversations pertaining to this issue?
What I'm hearing though is that we're all pretty much on the same page here if we can clear up the landfill issue. And
As a start.
we understand what,
I would say as a start.
yeah, as a starting point. So yeah, then you start talking about it and
Right.
negotiating and yeah.
Etc. And get town meeting approval, as Margaret so
Right.
probably pointed out.
How much do you think the cleanup would be if the town owned it?
We have no idea.
Wouldn't it be good if we had an idea?
Yes, we'd love the
Yes.
water company to find out how much that is.
My understanding is that at the moment, the Environmental Protection Agency doesn't have this land even on its radar screen.
That doesn't subtract from our liability. We're all sitting in this meeting knowing that there is something there. We don't know what, and we don't know what the requirements would be for any owner to clean that up, to leave it alone. We just don't know.
Are there any
That's a-
precedents? What has happened with other towns?
I actually closed a landfill, David, in another town. And it's a big process depending on what is there. I mean, you're absolutely right. There are some small landfills, you bury them and you cap them and you forget about it. There's not a problem. But again, you got to have an assessment done. And I don't know how much it would be. It might be very little. But we spent $50,000 closing the incinerator site that hadn't been used for 25, 30 years and had been used for less than a year in total. So, so how much is it going to be to clean up this one? I don't know.
We don't know. And a private owner does have the ability to set up a limited liability corporation so that they could not really have a problem. We don't have that ability as a town. So, for instance, if High Country were to take it and they were a limited liability corporation, or they set one up as a private entity, they would not have the problem that we as a town could experience, because we can't set up a limited liability corporation. So we haven't seen Bob.
How is he doing, Judy?
I would also add that if a private entity like High Country bought it, the town would certainly work with that owner to see if there are ways to make sure that, for example, Mike's Dream is still able to be used by folks, or the beach along the river there.
I mean, the Waterville Company has had signs up there for years that they don't have a problem with people crossing the land, using the beach, using the trail. Just not supposed to have campfires or set up camping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And whatever legal formula.
Hot shot, you can come over here and get online,
Would you
or
mute?
you can ask Mark to guide you to
David,
it.
mute. David, mute.
Would you mute? Would you mute it? Thank you. Okay, so do you want to put this off until the next meeting? Would you be more comfortable with that?
I read through it, Margaret. I didn't really see anything.
I'm fine. I'm
Nothing of
fine
the
with it.
substance. There might be a grammar thing that I missed or so.
Yeah, but
I would be prepared
what I
to approve.
saw was, David, you need to mute. We're talking about the minutes right now, so you
Okay,
need to.
I'm just leaving, okay? How's that?
No,
What?
okay.
We're
Goodbye.
waiting. We're waiting for Bob Freeze to come
Yeah, he
on.
doesn't know how to get on.
Okay, David, we're working with Bob right now on the phone. So we're.
Okay, so why don't I leave?
Okay,
Bye-bye, thanks.
Okay,
Once again, appreciate all your good works. Bye-bye.
all right, thank
thanks.
you.
The only thing I saw in the minutes was on line 90. It should be, teams from outside of New England are not allowed to participate in New Hampshire hockey events.
Okay,
Allowed, it should be, they are allowed.
they are not allowed. Okay,
Yeah.
line 90. Yep,
That's the only thing that I saw when I went through. And so, I'm gonna move that we accept the minutes as amended. I have a second.
Mike, where'd you go? I think.
I was
Would you
going to
second?
sneak a cookie. I'll have to go back and get it now. I will second that.
Could you get a couple for us?
All right.
We need you second. Okay.
Yes.
he seconded.
Okay.
Margaret moved, Mike seconded. We're take a vote now. All those in favor, Margaret, aye.
Rich, aye.
Bye.
We got all three. Go ahead, Margaret.
Okay, go ahead. All righty, so now we have the financial report. Just let me know when Bob comes on. I've got a full screen and I don't see.
I've got full screen. I'll let you know.
Okay. The financial report.
Yes, do you have any questions?
No.
What, let me get my glasses again. I can't see with them. What is, we have legal expenses, planning, zoning. I know it's not a lot of money, but why are we 91% spent on planning and zoning?
When we went to the COVID system, the planning person took over running the Zoom meetings for the planning board, and she has spent a lot of hours. Plus, that is now based on $5,000 instead of $10,000. So you
okay.
reduce that by half.
Okay, so it was mostly the time of the person that the planning board was using to organize their Zoom meetings.
Well, that started it, and there were some projects that they worked on as well. They've been trying to work on the master plan, and they did the subdiv regulation review, right, Rich?
Yes.
That they just completed. So that was work that she planned to do. And so the majority of that is, it's been halved,
Okay,
the budget.
all right. And the wastewater is because of the problems we've been having? Is that correct? Yeah, okay. Anything else on the financial report? Anyone? Okay, you need a motion to accept the financials?
No, we're all
Okay.
set.
We're all discussion, okay.
Yep.
All right, let's get on to the department heads.
All right, Dave, Dave, you ready to go?
Sure, we can tag team it. Labor Day weekend was nothing major to report. Colby Morrison has started work on Tuesday. Today's the second day he joins us, so we're getting him all up to speed with everything.
I have him here if he just wants to do a quick hello.
Hi.
Colby.
When's he gonna get his uniform?
We're hoping the UPS truck was delivering it today. Fortunately,
I'm good. So we're really getting adapted to the new normal here in town. We're slowly getting there. As we mentioned earlier, it's noise complaints late at night. Was a little bit of a trash issue, which I guess is further down on the agenda. What else? There was a moose we had to put down up on Triple I Road, which may cause some curiosity and some odor. So we notified Forest Service and Fish and Game on that. Dave, what do you have to add to this?
I think that's pretty much everything. I covered most of that in the community meeting, but I think that was pretty much the bulk of it.
So did the moose get hit by a car? Is that what happened?
We think it was at the bottom of the steep hill on the other side of the river, so we're not sure if it fell and got injured, but it wasn't ambulatory and kind of stuck in the mud, and we tried to see if it would kind of self-rehabilitate, and after checking on it after a few hours, it was still in the same spot and it had deteriorated, so we had to put it down.
Okay, all righty. Too bad. Yep. Okay.
All right, Sandra?
Yeah.
I had a question for
Oh, okay.
Dave and Chris, if I could. Actually, and also for the other two select board members. I recall several years ago, you put forward a warrant to buy one of those mobile radar signs. Do I have the terminology correct? But it was voted down at town meeting. And I wonder, with the increased number of people and the issue we have with speeding in town, whether it would be a good thing to revivify that particular warrant article and try again at the March 21 town meeting. What do you guys think? And Margaret, Mike, what do you think?
I'm sure you don't have to twist our arm.
Okay, I wanted to make sure. I just, don't want to spend money we don't need.
I appreciate that. We were advocates for that in the very beginning, and we were voted down, so we really haven't gone after it again. But I think we're hearing, we're getting echoes of what you're saying as far as it's needed again. And it'd be nice to have a portable one that we can set up different areas of town and not
Right.
just a stationary one. And I'm sure, Dave can add to that.
Yeah, I did get some prices and after, I think the biggest issue is some people thought it was ugly and that sort of thing.
That
But
was it.
the need is certainly there. I do want, there is some grant money through highway safety. That's a 50% match. This is the time of year that we get on the list for next year. So if we intend to purchase one, I'll make sure that we get on the list for those round of grants for the following year. So if we are approved, we can be eligible for those grants. I would like to say that they no longer make parts or even that model or anything for the one that's currently out there. Twofer, looking to replace the sign coming into town and getting a portable one that we can move around town for problem areas.
Where are the problem areas in town other than just warning people who are just coming in?
Most of the complaints that we've been getting using, folks using a lot of tip 411, Valley Road. We've been getting some Route 49 motor vehicle complaints.
Okay.
So we do have directed patrols out there for those, for the in-town roads. So officers are out there several times a shift doing speed patrols in about 20 to 30-minute intervals several times a day.
Okay. Thanks, Dave. All right, Mark, make a note on that. That's probably something we ought to put on the warrant again for the upcoming year.
Yep.
Mike, any opinion on that?
Yeah, I think it's definitely worthwhile. I was for it last time.
Yeah, and for getting one that's transportable in case our is changed.
It can also
Okay.
help one that has a message because we can use it for road races and other stuff. So let's not cheap out on it.
Right. Okay. Let's see. Sandra.
Hey, so we've changed our pickleball hours outdoors to accommodate the school schedule. So we're 3 to 4 Mondays and Wednesdays, 1 to 4 Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and still 10 to 3 on Saturdays. We haven't gotten any pushback on that or too many people using the court. There are some people out there right now, but they prefer to bring their own net. And we're just going to keep that running until we can't anymore, until the cold weather or snow hits us, whichever comes first. We would love to be able to offer indoor pickleball if the school schedule allows us in the winter, but we haven't really gone there yet. So we are going to be offering a girls running club for girls in grades 3 to 5. And they're going to work together 2 days a week after school. And their culminating event will be the fall foliage foot race. So that we just put that out on Friday. Let's see. So in regards to the fall foliage foot race, we are anticipating a smaller race this year. It's kind of our goal to try to shoot for a smaller race this year. We're going to eliminate the 10-mile trail run and offer the 5K and the family fun run. And that will be Columbus Day weekend. And Columbus Day weekend will also be the last weekend that Boats is open. The 10th will be the last day that Boats is open.
Okay.
And let's see, in regards to the after school program, I think we've finalized what we would like to offer to those after school kids and hopefully be able to offer a program to the kids K through 5 in all ages. We'll offer a program Tuesdays and Thursdays for the kindergarten to second graders, and a program Monday, Wednesday, Friday to the 3rd through 5th graders, with an added enrichment program as often as we can for those kids who don't want to do the after school program but want something additionally. Our first program will be the Youth Beats program that we offered to our summer campers this year. That was very well received and was a great enrichment program. So we'll be offering that 2 days a week
What
for
is that?
3 weeks.
What is that, Sandra? I'm sorry. What is that program?
Well, it's called Youth Beats. It's an enrichment program that focuses on inclusion and equality, a lot of peer-to-peer work, and it's all done through percussion. And it's a great program to be able to offer socially distanced in the gym. They spread out, and all they use is some sticks, a bucket, and a chair.
Okay.
And Rich Reggioni is the kids loved it for the summer, and parents were hoping that we could bring him back. So we're excited to be able to offer that to those kids. So I think our goal is to use part of the multi-purpose room, and we'll just have to be able to clean and sanitize it at the end of our session before the next session. The end of our session before the next school day. And I talked that over with Gail Adams Davis from the school, and she thinks that will work out well. And in terms of policies and procedures, it will be very similar to what we were able to offer the summer campers, but on a smaller scale. Still having pickup outdoors. Our staff will go to get the kids after school and bring them here to the rec department. We kind of use the framework that we spent a lot of time on for the summer camp program to create that for after school, in terms of safety and mitigation and response to COVID-19.
Okay.
I think that's it.
All right. Any questions for Sandra?
Yeah, I have just a couple comments. First, you guys did such a wonderful job over the summer, and you look like you're really integrating well into the school. It's going to be a challenging fall for the rec department and what you'll be able to offer. I would like at some point, there's no great hurry on this, and again, I open it up to my fellow select board members for their opinion on the matter, but I think we probably need to sit down with the rec department, with Brooke and yourself, and look at the issue of resources and what the plans are for after school and rec department this fall. I suspect you're going to have an extremely limited indoor rec operation, if I'm corrected, what I'm hearing.
So what I'm talking about right now, we've planned to take us through the fall to the end of this year.
Okay.
Brooke is out this week, but she is
Right.
She is working on a narrative to get to the selectmen as soon as possible. And in terms of our indoor space and the after school program, one of our main goals is to make sure that we're not mixing the cohorts like they do in school. So that's why we have to keep the K2 program and 3-5 program on separate days. And our limit for those indoor programs is going to be 10 kids, which is 2 more than we did in the summer. But right now they're all mixed together during the school day anyway in those cohorts. So we think that 10 with 2 staff is appropriate. And also to mention that those extra enrichment programs will run separately from the after school program. So they'll go right from school to enrichment, and then parents will pick them up separately. They won't come into the program at all or be mixed in those cohorts.
Okay, and I think it's important for the record to note that, and we may have done this already if we have, pardon me, but I think it's important for the record to note that the enrichment program, which was instituted by the school, right, and the after-school program, we're both going to be run by the school this year, but because of COVID and all the issues they've had to deal with, they've asked the town to pick up that particular part of the program for school-age kids, which I think is great. I think we definitely need to do these things for sure. But I just wanted to make sure that record was there from where we were last time, where we talked about the school taking over these issues.
Yeah, for
There
this,
were,
go ahead, Sandra.
sorry, Margaret. I just wanted to add that, I think one driving force behind us, deciding to do the after school program is that, parents, specifically parents in the summer who are now residents here, who are used to us offering, a summer program and extra enrichments for the kids. A lot of them did ask and request that of us during the summer, that they would love to see an after school program. So we're trying to identify and meet the need that we can see from our standpoint.
Okay. Alrighty, Jim, do we want to, we've had Joe waiting for a little while. Should we skip and do that?
No, go ahead and do Jim's department head meetings, and we can go on to Joe.
Okay.
I'd like to start off by introducing you to Brad Talent, who has been working for us part-time at the transfer station, and he's made a lateral shift to fill the vacancy in the water department and in helping out in the wastewater department. So I would like you to welcome him aboard. He's done a great job for us part-time, and so hopefully you'll continue that full-time.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Yep.
We'll have a handshaking ceremony later.
I don't know, I'm too old. He looks just like the other guy on this screen.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's frickin' frack now, water and wastewater. That's good.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. What else, Jim?
Well, only a couple of things very briefly. I think everybody knows that we've completed the little parking area and the signs are up for that. So hopefully that works out. And we are continuing just doing a lot of cutting on the roadsides, getting rid of dead wood in anticipation of the winter. And I have secured a permit from the Forest Service to rid us of some nuisance trees on Triple I Road. So those trees have been marked. I have a permit in hand, and so we'll be starting that fairly quickly.
Okay.
And just one tag on to that parking spot. I did talk to Craig, and we're going to invoice him for the materials and the sign costs for the pull off. So we'll take care of that. That would mean that the town is just in it for the labor costs for the
And that's
hours.
what you agreed to up front, correct?
Yes, I had talked to him about that, and I confirmed with him today
Correct.
or yesterday. Yep.
Okay. Was it terribly expensive?
$590 for the materials, and a couple hundred for the signs.
Okay. All right. All righty. Should we,
I have something, Margaret.
yeah. Sorry.
Sorry to be a pest today. Just a couple things on that last topic on the parking along Valley Road. I wanted to get on the record that a longtime resident and former planning board member, Ray Kucharski, called me the day after our meeting and told me that he was unable to attend the meeting, but he watched the YouTube video of it, and he was dismayed with our decision to allow parking there temporarily while we decide how to go forward on on-street parking. His larger point, however, was with regard to the golf clubhouse, that when it was constructed, this was obviously before the current owner acquired the ownership. The agreement with the then owner was that because parking was seen to be an issue, was that the owner would provide parking, 25 spots in front of the clubhouse and 25 spots in what is now used as a maintenance area. So he wanted to make sure that information got on the record. So I just did that for him, I hope faithfully so. I got a couple other quick things. One quick question. I noticed, Mark, people are parking by that area that DPW cleaned out by the what is it? Well One, the old the small structure there for Well One, the old treatment area. You cleared out that area, put some stones right behind it. If you're looking at it from West Branch Road, yeah, people are parking on that spot. Was that intended?
No.
Yeah, you may want to either put a stone in front of it or put a. They park there and then they just have a picnic, go down by the by the river right there. And I noticed that some of the area is getting a little worn from that type of parking. So maybe, I don't need a sign. Maybe a big rock or something might be helpful there. Just an observation. Another observation is that I noticed on Snows Mountain Road between driveway number 30 and number 38, the owner of the Greeley Hill property across the road did a lot of chipping and took a lot of brush down, but a lot of that has fallen into the drainage ditch. So that's going to be an issue, I think, in a heavy rain or later on in the year with regard to an already very poor drainage situation on the road. So you guys might want to take a look at it and see if anything, other than cleaning it out, see what else. There's still a lot of stuff that hasn't fallen into it quite yet. You'll see it when you go up. It's basically the first two driveways on the right, just after the intersection with Greeley Hill Road. If you look in that area, you'll see what I'm talking about.
That's made the list
I will
already.
now shut up.
I'm sorry, Jim had something to say.
That is on the list. We have noticed it, and we will get to it.
Thank you.
All right. Now should we go to Joe and the contract so we don't hold Joe too much longer? I know he's fascinated. He's fascinated with all of these things that we're going through here. Okay, so
Yeah.
Joe is here because Joe has presented us with a contract on behalf of Hoyle Tanner for some engineering work that we talked about at our last meeting getting done this year. And this is with respect to getting pump number 2 replaced and back online for us before the end of the year. Is that correct, Mark?
Well, we're hoping we can make those, yes, get it back online. And then it's also to do the actual design work through construction for the new
entire project.
Yeah.
For the $1 million project.
Yes.
Right, okay. So anybody have any questions after looking through this contract for $214,000, is that correct?
Yes, for all phases. Yep.
Pretty much out of the presentation, what we had discussed prior to town meeting, as far as I see.
That's correct. Yeah.
Mike, did you have anything?
Yeah, I was just wondering, Joe, how are you gonna phase this? And do our payments fall in line with any kind of phasing, or is the payment just due upfront?
Sure. No payments up front. We prefer to do it in the order of starting the design, get a conceptual design together so we can get the permitting underway. So that those two elements, as they were outlined as tasks, would be task 2 design and task 1 permitting. We have to do enough sketch work and schematic work for the agencies. So those would be the first 2 tasks to get underway. Bidding wouldn't happen until we had approval. They'd have to be reviewed and approved by the town, as well as the DES, who will have a say in how the project is designed. And that would go into bidding phase, which would be in 2021, and then construction in 2021 as well.
So it's pretty much the 100,000 up front, and then the rest of it as we get a little bit further along.
Yeah, you say up front it would be as you go. Yeah.
Right. No,
Yeah.
it's gonna cost us $100,000 to get it designed and for you to get it ready for bidding. So we're not gonna go into any of these further costs, the other 100,000 or so, until we know we've really got a contractor. We'd like to put it out to bid. And as we've had in the past where we put a project out to bid and couldn't find anyone to do it for the bid.
Yeah.
So
Yep. And I think that, so in addition to the 100,000 for design, Mike, it would also be the 15,000 for the permit.
15,000 for the
yeah, no,
permit.
I understand it. So
And Joe, we're set up for entering the bidding phase at a pretty good time, correct?
Yeah, we're going to do our best to get this. The key is the permitting, Margaret. I had mentioned to Mark and Jim on a call at another time that we're seeing a faster turnaround time for the permitting than we've seen before. And I'm not sure if it's because of COVID where people are isolated and just focused on things. But we would anticipate a good 6 months for permitting. So we want to get design started, get permits in. We'd anticipate having permits, the wetland shoreline permit for the crossing, for the work around the river, about the March timeframe. And we would time our design to be done by then as well. So once we had permits, we could go to bid.
Right.
So it may be after town meeting. The only way it could be accelerated is if we were to get approval from DES and the town to go to bid prior to having the final permit in hand and just put conditions in the contract for bidding that permits will be provided. A contract wouldn't be awarded to a contractor until the permits were finalized.
Okay, I was trying to refer back to what is the best time to be putting jobs out to bid of
Sure.
this nature, and
I would tell you, normally I would tell you you'd want to have something bid late this year, so bids are due in January.
yeah.
Frame of, for your town meeting to approve
Right.
authorization to award. We're starting late. We went through the process and this project was in March. We were searching for funding. Starting in September is going to put a strain on that. I'm not sure we can get it out to bid in 3 months, but
Okay. All right.
we'll certainly do our best to expedite the design. But the permitting, in my mind, is the one challenge in getting a project that's.
Okay, Mark, do we need a motion on this?
Yes, I'd like to have you move to accept the proposed contract as presented and authorize us to move forward within that contract for the design work and permitting.
Okay, I will move that we accept the contract as put forward by Hoyle Tanner and move forward with both the design for 100,000 and the permitting for 15,200. All of this money was authorized in the town meeting in 2020. And Margaret made the move, and who's going to second?
I'll second. Mike seconds.
We'll second. All those in favor, Margaret, aye.
Rich, aye.
Mike, aye.
Okay.
Okay, and in conjunction with that, let me just share my screen here because I didn't get a. All right, and now Sharon and Nick aren't down there. Jim, do you know anything about Zoom? I need screen sharing enabled for all participants, please. So Judy's going to do it. Basically, we have a notice from DES that our project has been selected for the priority list for the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. And they have offered us the opportunity to complete that application. And I know Joe has done several of these for other communities. If we want to, we can sign up for the Drinking Water Fund to do this project, the state, through the loan fund, provides the financing, much like the bond bank would. The interest rates, checking them today, in July, they are extremely low. They're even lower than the bond issues from the bond bank. So they're very competitive. We do not qualify for any loan forgiveness or anything like that through these programs because of our median household income levels. However, I think, Joe, there are other advantages if we were to select this as a potential funding source for the project. Maybe down the road for the feds, if they provide additional money to the state, we might qualify. Would that be true?
Yeah, that's correct, Mark. If with the eligibility through the state revolving loan fund, town would automatically be eligible for any other funds that were appropriate at the federal level and passed on to states for infrastructure work. The lack of loan forgiveness, Mark, we'd have to check with the program administrator to see
Right.
the communities that had no eligibility because of MHI, if they would actually have some forgiveness if there were additional funds available.
Okay.
So I think we need to confirm that. That would certainly be an advantage. There's also no penalty for early payment. I think the latest interest rates for a 20-year note were around 1.26% for this loan program. So it is very competitive. I don't know what the bond bank is, Mark, but
It was 1.54 for a 20-year note.
Yeah.
The last sale.
Does that let you share now, Mark?
it's
I'm sorry?
Does that let you share now?
Yes, thank you. So this is the letter from the state. We do have a while to do this. However, I'd rather get in on the front end of this rather and have this funding source locked in, especially if those interest rates are that low. So the next step in this would be to just have the board say, yes, we want to move ahead with the SRF. I can contact the SRF folks, Jonna McKenna and her staff, and we already have the authority to borrow, so all the funding authorizations are in place for the entire project, which should help us close this pretty quickly, right, Joe? We're not waiting for a town meeting vote.
yes, yeah, you have a lot of things in place already. Yeah.
Yeah, so, and we shouldn't do any work until we have the final decision from DES on the fund financing. So I'd like to do this now that, like Joe said, we're a little bit behind timeline wise. I would like not to have to push that out. So if we want to move forward with this, if there's no prepayment penalty, there is no prepayment penalty. So if we wanted to ask the bond bank for an interest rate and it came in even lower than the 1.2, whatever we get here, we can transfer the drinking water fund over to the bond bank if we want.
Okay. So we have a lot of options and this.
Yeah, we have a lot of options, even if you decide to move forward
Right.
with this now.
Okay. All righty. So can I have a motion to allow Mark to move forward with application to the drinking water treatment self-revolving
State revolving fund.
state revolving fund? Can I have a motion?
Let me see if I can remember all that. How about I so move to what Margaret, this is Rich, has just so very eloquently stated.
Go forward with the application for the state revolving fund for our water project. Okay, and Rich has moved and I will second. All those in favor, Margaret, aye.
Rich, aye.
Mike, aye.
Okay, great. Okay.
All right, and one more thing before we let Joe go, and that's in relationship to the land that we were just talking about.
Yes.
Is the wastewater treatment plant issue, as far as how we're going to proceed. Are we going to continue to wait for the EPA permit renewal, or are we going to start looking at other potential options that we might have for fixing this? And I just wanted Dylan to kind of give us a quick overview of what we could potentially look at, and just have a discussion. No real decision at this point, but I don't want to just try to do the whole explanation and get your decision in one meeting. So,
Hey, Mark,
get the conversation started.
could we ask Dylan to start with what the problem is before we start looking at a solution?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
So right now what we're up against is we have a permit that has been expired for in excess of 5 years at the wastewater treatment plant, our NIPD's permit, National Pollutant Discharge permit. So what's going on is if we wait for the EPA to issue us a new permit, it could be, and most likely will be, much more strict than what we currently have.
Excuse me, Dylan?
Yes?
We have been operating on a permit that expired 5 years ago?
That's correct, but that's not on behalf of the town, that's on behalf of the EPA's, how slow they move.
Oh, but we had made attempts to renew this permit
That's
before
correct.
it expired.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, it's not like we looked at our book and go, oh.
No.
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 The town,
No,
the town had made motions to the EPA to move this along so that way we wouldn't be in this predicament that we are currently. With that being said, if we do wait for a new NIPD's permit to be issued by the EPA and we don't explore other avenues to treat our wastewater and discharge it, we could be spending much more money in excess of tens of millions of dollars more than the current, what I spoke with Mark and Jim and Joe about. If we go through New Hampshire DDS and are issued a groundwater discharge permit, it will cut the actual plant cost by a wide, very large number in excess of millions of dollars. And it will lower the operation and maintenance costs of what the new facility would cost if we keep our EPA NIPD's permit. It's a no-brainer in terms of moving forward, because 10 years from now, if the EPA issues us a new permit after this one expires, the plant we're going to build to meet the permit that we're going to get issued could be no longer good enough to meet the new permit after that. Whereas if we go ahead and go after this permit with the state of New Hampshire for a groundwater discharge permit, it's very unlikely that the state's going to say you're no longer meeting what we want you to meet, because it's going to be the same ground that we're discharging into. It's not going to be a Class B river, or we're not going to be the headwaters of a river any longer.
So you're saying our plant now is not permittable?
Well, no,
we can do.
Our plant is permitted. It's just that.
But I mean, if they come up and say you need to do something, we have to start from scratch for a new plant, or there's nothing we can do to make this plant viable under the current permitting or future permitting statutes.
Correct.
That's correct. And they've already told you that, right, Dylan? Basically, they've told us that they will not just renew the current permit that we have.
Correct.
We are going to get an all
They
new
told
permit.
us what we need to do to that plant to make it permittable?
They
Yeah,
haven't-
completely rebuild it.
Yeah.
completely rebuild it.
All right, and what kind of money is completely rebuilding that plant? Because you're talking tens of millions here, so I'm a little bit freaked out.
10 million.
Okay, so it's gonna cost 10 million to rebuild the plant we've got. What's it gonna cost to build a new plant?
So here's the thing, what Mark just said, responding to what you had asked, to build a new plant going along with the NIPD's permit, it's gonna be a totally new plant either way. It's just gonna be, this avenue going through New Hampshire DES is gonna be the cheaper option because of the new limits that are gonna be imposed on us through a new NIPD's permit. So just as an example, some of the criteria that we have on our permit, we only have to meet that for a short period of time during the year. With the new permit, it's going to be more than likely that we're going to have to meet that for the entire year, which is the biggest cost of our budget, really, currently, in chemical use. And it's not a viable option to do that when the winter months come because of the cold water does not work well with breakpoint chlorination, which we use during the summertime. And we're also going to have much more strict phosphorus limits, most likely. I had a conversation with Ken Kessler from the state of New Hampshire DES, and the lady in charge of compliance, Teresa Tatt, had told him that it's going to be a shocking permit, and you might not be surprised at how strict it can be. The EPA looks at us because of how clean our water has been for eternity, and they say, well, if you've done it this long, how come you can't do it this way and better? And that's where the big money comes in, because they're going to implement an even stricter discharge limit on us.
I mean, the bottom line is we're talking about either discharging into the Mad River or doing this groundwater discharge.
Correct.
So if we discharge into the Mad River, that gets the EPA involved, and the water has to be extraordinarily clean. If we do the groundwater discharge, that is a permit through the state, and the cleanliness of the water when it comes out of our plant is much less because it gets further treated when it's discharged into the ground. Okay, so that's why there's such a big difference. And whether it's 10 million or 12 million to build the EPA permit plant, it's going to be substantially less, on the order of half of the cost to build the plant, or something like that, to build the plant if it's groundwater discharge
So
standard.
you're talking about $5 million or so?
Yeah, it's going to be, it's
Okay,
still
no,
going to be
I
million.
want to see what the magnitude of both of the options are.
But,
So we're looking at a $5 million problem.
but there's a lot, but
And
there's,
when is this problem upon us?
well, the EPA permit renewal notice is due to us supposedly within a month or so.
Correct.
Okay? That doesn't mean we have to start building the plant right then, but that's when we would know, that's when the clock would start ticking, and they would expect us to start designing and making a plan for how to get the plant in place. So it's sort of like the dam project. It's going to be a year or two or more while we design, pick where the plant's going to be, what is it going to look like, etc. So it's a long process to get the plant in place, but the permit that tells us what those standards are is coming in the next month or so.
Okay,
The complicating factor, and Joe, if I say anything wrong, please correct me, because I'm not an engineer. I parrot what smart people say. So the issue with the groundwater discharge is finding the place where you can do the discharge, because you got to have land that meets certain criteria in order to discharge the water into it to get that last level of treatment, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think we need to start looking around for land. Is it the land out by Well House 1 that we were just talking about with the Waterville Company? Is it land below the Mad River condos that the town already owns? Is that suitable land? Is it the National Forest land that's right here beside Town Hall? Does that meet it? Can we do it on land that we already own right here by the treatment plant? The Tyrell land where the contractor yard is here beside the, I don't know the answers to all those questions yet. I think we need to at least say that we're open to doing something other than just upgrading or building a new plant that discharges directly to the river. Because I think in the long run, not only is it potentially going to cost 10 million or more to build the plant, but like Dylan said, the operating costs, if you took our current budget, I wouldn't be surprised if you doubled or tripled it going forward to run the new plant once we spend the $10 million to do it. And that means because we're not going to be treating the water the same way.
I get what you're saying, Mark. I'm just sitting here in shock wondering where we're coming up with $10 million for a water treatment plant.
Well, again, the 10 million is a made up number, but it's a lot. It is a lot of money.
Could this be $1 million project then instead of a $10 million?
No.
Mark,
Joe, have you built any of these?
Yeah, we have. We've Boyle Tank built about a dozen of them.
So what do they cost?
Well, the most expensive one was $30 million.
We don't need.
Okay, you can forget that one.
It's about the least expensive was about $8 million. But let me just offer to the selectmen. There is a project underway now in Whitefield, New Hampshire, where they're converting a wastewater lagoon facility to a more advanced treatment facility. And that cost is about a $10 million project, which is comparable to Waterville Valley's size and type of project that we're talking about. So that's where Mark gets the $10 million number from. That's a number that DES provided as a most recent project where they're converting a lagoon plant to a more advanced treatment system. And the challenge that Waterville Valley faces is the existing plant has produced a really high quality effluent for years and years, and it's been consistently doing that, but it's at the end of its service life. So it's not a case where you get a new permit with some limits, as Dylan mentioned, where you might have a seasonal limit for ammonia that you have to treat to a certain high level for 3 months. The new permit, all indications from EPA and DES are the new permit's going to look for that type of treatment year round. That's a whole different treatment process than you have now. If your plant was in like new condition, there might be things added to the plant to, at the cost of millions rather than 10 million or more. But that plant is obsolete. It has reached its service life. So one way or the other, you're going to replace the plant. And the that Mark is describing is there are 15 treatment plants in New Hampshire that use a groundwater discharge. And those requirements are a lot less strict than going to a river, a surface water discharge.
But this was never in the CIP, correct?
Excuse me?
I was just asking.
No, it isn't, because we didn't know that the EPA permit was going to change so drastically. So we didn't have any indication that this was going to happen. So it has not been in the CIP.
Yeah.
Like the dam.
Well, except it's not DES running this, it's the EPA coming back and saying, we're not going to simply renew your permit like we have twice before. We're going to give you an all new permit.
So we have to start really in high gear exploring all options for what we can do to do this. And what we do know is that if we went through the same format we're in now, that even after we build this new magnificent thing by doing a water discharge is gonna cost us so much more to run it, that this other thing could be incredibly viable, even though it might cost more, or we might have to pump water across town to get to
Right,
these fields, that in the long run, it would pay off for us.
yeah,
I think what we need to do is we need to just start looking into these options and get them figured out, because we know
Yeah.
nothing now.
and I'd like to start, if it's all right, and we do have money within the contingency account to get, the first step is a hydrogeologic study of some of these sites, so we know whether or not to even conceptually consider them. I'd like to do that if we can, even this fall. I'm thinking it's gonna be $15,000-$20,000 to get engineering firm like Jamie Emery's GZA or whoever, some hydrogeologist to come in here and look at the different areas of town and find out whether or not we can use them, if we should even consider them.
Yeah.
And I'd rather do that rather than wait till next spring to even begin.
Right, right. The area that is close to the current plant, Mark, that's owned by the Forest Service, as I recall, that's very expensive. At least the last time they proposed it was $3 million, right?
Yeah, but I don't, yeah, right. But I don't even think, we don't even know if that's a viable place that we should even start talking to them. So before we commit to the land down the Waterville Company land even, there may be other reasons to pursue buying that, acquiring it, however. But I don't know if it'll work for this particular project, and we won't know until we do a study.
Yeah,
I mean, we have a lot of information from what we did for the Well 4 project as far as land and hydrogeology of a lot of the parts of town, but we've got to distill that information, and we've got to gather some additional information so that we can make a call on this particular use of the groundwater discharge.
right.
I'm with Dylan. I don't think we should wait. I think we should move.
It also might rule out the opportunity for us to do this, because we might not have any suitable land.
That's right. And we may have to, absolutely, Mike. We may be
Yeah,
stuck with.
let's start working on this. My thought is let's start working on this immediately. Spend the money, so at least we've got a ballpark, and actually, get some rough ideas, so we can pick Joe's brain a little bit on these things as to what's worked, what won't work, so we're not stabbing around in the dark.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Good
Joe and
idea.
Dylan, you got the marching orders. We're gonna use contingency to do this, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, Mark, I'll set up some calls with DES and with Jamie Emery and get you guys linked in, and we'll talk to them this week.
Okay. That sounds like a plan.
Okay, great.
All right. I think that's all, Joe.
Okay,
Right?
Thanks for
Thank
hanging
you.
around.
that's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
I admire you guys. You always have a lot on your plate up there.
Yeah, you're welcome to stay. We still got plenty.
Yeah, I've still got plenty of work to do too, so I think I'll step out.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Be well.
Take care.
Thank you.
Okay, do we still need Jim here for some other things?
The transfer station, I'd like to talk to him about.
An update.
Well, the public safety department, when I came in yesterday morning, public safety just wanted to let us know that there were people from outside of town utilizing the dumpsters. And the most concerning person was the people from an Airbnb in Waterville Estates who had been instructed by the person they were renting from to take their garbage to Waterville Valley at the end of their stay and dump it in the dumpsters up there, because everybody does it. And we found out that the Campton Thornton transfer station is no longer taking Airbnb customers from anywhere in Campton or Thornton and allowing them to dump their trash at the transfer station in Campton Thornton. So in essence, all of the short-term rentals now in Campton and Thornton, if they're following the same path as this Airbnb renter, are instructing their people to bring their trash to Waterville Valley. And I think we are probably going to see continued outside of the valley use of our facility unless we start controlling access to it. And I know that's a pain in the butt, but we, you know, I just don't know any other way to keep people from doing it, or if we're going to make the conscious call to just say, forget about it, it's not worth the pushback that we most definitely are going to get if we have set hours at the transfers, you know, at the dumpsters. If you don't want to do that, then we got to understand that there's going to be a lot of outside use of our dumpsters, and there is a lot of outside use. I think it's been down because traffic from workers in the valley hasn't been as high since March. You know, there's been a reduced number of people working here. So I think we've seen a downturn of that. But now I'm concerned that we just have people throughout the region, I'll say, Campton, Thornton, and Waterville, who just, people know that our dumpsters are available 24/7. Take it up to Waterville. You know, they don't have any control.
All right, what about some better signage with a list of fines for dumping and we're photographing license plates? I do know one thing, that Windsor Hill is making Airbnb people leave their license plates so they know who is there and what cars should be there. I think we're going to see a trend here with more associations tightening up on knowing who's in town and who is not in town. But how did we find out this was happening?
The public safety officer was down there, I guess, doing a bear check, and the person came in and started asking questions. And so they got into a conversation, and the public safety officer just started asking some pointed questions, like where you know, what units are you staying at or whatever. And they just told him because they didn't know any better.
Well, maybe we can arrange to have some police coverage towards the end of the day on Sundays, just hanging out at the dump if nothing's going on. For a little while, just to see if this is a real issue or a non-issue, and to get the word out to people that, hey, we're not going to tolerate it. You know, I can understand it's not like you don't go on a call because you're watching the dump, but instead of sitting somewhere else, you can sit down there or just oversee it and just casually ask people with out-of-state plates, you know, where they're staying. Okay. And once a few people get the word is, no, I'm sorry, you cannot dump here, you know, it's going to get back to the owners. Because I don't know if a lot of these owners know that they shouldn't be doing this. You know, there's a lot of blissful ignorance around in the world.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Why don't we, I like my suggestion as something to do as a start, but geez.
That's fine.
What's the real problem in locking it up at certain hours?
As far as what? Locking
it up for
locking?
certain.
Well,
I only go during the day. When I go, I'm not going to go at night because there are beds there. So you know, is there an issue with, there are a lot of people that want to use it between, let's say, 6 o'clock at night and 6 o'clock in the morning?
I'm an evening person. If I cook something that requires a lot of fresh
I'll be
ingredients,
right back.
you know, I will take my dump right after dinner, take a ride to the dump so it's not smelling up the house, especially in the winter.
Okay. So
Because
that wouldn't work for you.
Yeah, because we don't have disposals.
Ah,
You know,
okay.
a lot of us are still on septic, so we don't have a grinder.
Yeah.
But
I
I think
reserve a part of my freezer for that type of food till I can get to the dump.
interesting thought.
Plastic bag.
Yeah, my eyesight is not that good, Rich. I think I could have some access. You know, it would really stink to come home after a day of thawing out a pile of garbage and realizing it's not what you want to cook.
Yeah.
Of course, even were we to put a fence or somehow restrict access, you can be darn sure that people will just leave bags in front of it.
Yeah, they will.
So, I mean, there's got to be a combination of signs, a person, or some kind of video surveillance where we could see that happening after the fact and then go after those folks.
But
Well,
we don't know who's who because there's so
the-
many out-of-state owners.
We have the video surveillance.
We do, and that was my first thought. I guess this is not deterring people.
Yeah, but we can't tell who's an out-of-state owner who owns a property here, has a Massachusetts plate or New Jersey plate. I think it's if we can just get an officer down there, you know, evenings, you know, as people are leaving on Sunday, that's going to be, I would think, the biggest time of people dumping. On their way out, they take their trash.
Yeah, and most of them are checking out about noon, right?
Those aren't the ones that are taking trash. The ones checking out on noon are the ones who are in hotels.
Okay,
The other people are leaving at the end of the day.
okay.
I think it would still be useful, Mike, to your suggestion about having some signs right there.
Oh, of course.
For, you know, for use by residents and their guests of the town of Waterville Valley
Yeah,
only.
Exactly.
This area is under video surveillance.
$500 fine, something.
Yeah, throw in the fine. I don't know if we have that amount of fine, but it may
We
be.
can say anything. $10,000 fine doesn't mean we have to charge you.
That's right.
But we have signs on the dumpsters right now, do we
Yeah,
not?
we do.
Did say for property owners and their guests?
No, I think it's for household trash only.
Yeah, just type of trash.
Yeah.
I'm going to step out for a second. I'll be right back.
Okay.
You guys continue without me.
So, yeah, all right. We'll, I don't know, Jim, what do you think? You're sitting there, give us your 2 cents. Or more.
You know, I'm all for first steps and everything, but you know, I wrinkle at signs. The hair on the back of my neck stands up because I can sit there and watch people in this town that know better, residents that know better. They don't read the sign and they throw the TV in, or they throw their brush in, or they throw their C&D in and stuff like that. And you have to, you know, it's just, it's nuts. So, I mean.
The only
signage-
solution is
Signage is great, but you know, people don't even read the stop sign. That's my favorite saying down there, you know, there's a stop sign and.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing we could do is when we're interviewing this new transfer station attendant is, you know, say that there's Saturday or Sunday hours that you may have to work as part of this job, and let a person starting up front know, and just have other days of the week that we're closed at the transfer station. That's going to cause comments, but you know, it becomes a matter of what do we want to control? You know, what should we be taking care of?
Yeah,
You don't need any extra trash, especially what's coming down the pike at us.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing is how much is this gonna happen if Campton Thornton starts closing their landfill? You know, they're only open half of the amount of time that they're open now, and everybody knows you just go to Waterville if you've got a problem. And oh, by the way, you can put your C and D in their dumpsters because there's nobody there and there's nobody's gonna know.
So I guess my follow-up to that is, yeah, we can put signs up that say, $1,000 fine or whatever if you're not a resident here or a guest here. But to not have that presence of somebody watching over that, to kind of drive that home, and I think signs are just, people know when somebody's there and they know when somebody's not watching, so.
Right, all right.
Well, these are two different but related issues. One is access by people who should not be accessing the dumpsters.
Yeah.
The other is people who still are not properly using the dumpsters and throwing the wrong things like construction debris into our dumpsters.
Yeah.
Or furniture, appliances, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the only obviously the long-term solution is a locked facility with an attendant when it's open. I mean, that's how you solve those problems. I don't know if we want to go that direction, but that is given our current setup, that would be the long-term solution, no? Our setup may change depending upon Bethlehem.
Right.
Okay.
So we will continue to look at that. I'll talk to Chris and Dave about some sort of coverage down there. We'll see.
They probably know when the most people come in
Yeah.
during the day because they're out and around all the time.
Can't we get a sense of that from the camera coverage we have?
Yes, we can. We can zero in on some hours. Yeah.
See where the traffic flow is at certain hours based on the video coverage?
Yeah.
How often does that roll over? In other words, how often before you use the
30 days or something like
okay.
that. It's a long
Yeah, you
period.
can get a good 30-day window.
Yeah.
As to when the folks are coming. But I think signs would be important too, just as a start.
Okay.
Do we have a way of tracking down the person based on the license plate?
It depends. In some cases we can. In some cases we can't get a good enough shot of the license plate to be able to do that. But we have had a few cases where we have gotten good descriptions or good license plate numbers and we have tracked down people. But there are a lot of times when we can't.
Okay.
So the camera system it's better than nothing, but it's still very limited. So it's not, I don't think it's a total solution. I think it helps us, but I don't see it solving the problem if we leave those dumpsters in the open, unattended. And that, I mean, nobody, I don't know of another town that is still doing that. Everybody's transfer stations are secured. And they have limited access and they are manned when they're open. And that's just the way it is.
For a reason.
For a reason, because people are not very bright.
Yeah. Okay. Obviously there will be more discussion on this as we go forward. What's the latest on the landfill up north? Anything new?
No, Have you heard anything from, the Penny Baker Solid Waste District? Jim?
No, I have not, but we have a meeting coming up, in a week or 10 days, I believe. I'll have to double check. Unfortunately, it's a Zoom meeting, so we don't always get a quorum, and then we don't have the meeting because we don't have a quorum, so. That this Zoom stuff for some of the other people that work in the smaller towns is a little difficult, so. But, I know that they have, extended the public input for the extension, and, I'm not sure what the cutoff date now is for that.
The 18th,
The
the 18th of September.
And so what I can do is I have a couple of ideas that may help us out, that have been somewhat offered to us before, when we were in a pinch, especially when the old truck was down for so long. And if those are viable, we may be able to come to some kind of an agreement with North Country Environmental Services to be able to at least maybe transport our trash to either Bethlehem and or maybe Belmont, and then have them take it to wherever the final disposal place is. I'm not ruling that out. I'm not saying that they will make that concession to us, but it would certainly, it's a moneymaker for them. Our other alternative would be to possibly, if Witcher would take us and Warren, we may be able to strike a deal with him. Any way you look at it, we're going to be paying quite a bit more per ton to get rid of the trash than we would normally. But those things are still open, and I haven't got an answer yet. But got to ask the question first. So.
Yeah, okay.
Final thing for Jim is this moderate drought
Yeah.
issue. So,
Okay.
and glad Dylan is still here. I think going into the winter where we are with the drought and the fact that we are in now the drought zone, the moderate drought zone, I think we ought to dust off as the state recommends, the water conservation measures.
Okay.
And start implementing them. There are a couple of links. If you look on the paperwork that I gave you in your packet, you can go on the DES website, and I'll email you those links so they'll be easy for you to click on and look at.
Okay.
Those water conservation templates that they provide us. And I really think we should consider adopting those going into the winter, especially because we still have well 2 down and well 3. So, we're on the edge here until we get well.
Still waiting for the parts for this pump number 2?
Yeah, I think pump 2 or well 2, I think we can get up pretty quickly, right, Jim? I mean, we could run it right now if we had to, couldn't we?
Right. Yeah, we were, I'll talk to Joe and see how far out we can be on the replacement of the chemical feed pumps. And if we can get that expedited and just get it online without doing any of the internal modifications that we have talked about, then maybe that would be the route to go if we can do that right off the bat.
Yeah.
And Mark, if we go with drought guidelines, is that something the selectmen can decide to do? Do we have a hearing first? on it?
Yeah, I'd have a public hearing, and adopt them as an amendment to the water sewer regulations. That is your purview as the Board of Selectmen to, control those.
Okay, and can you make it conditional on what the status of our area is?
Sure, I think we can adapt them, sure.
Okay, so that, you know, for instance, if we adopted something that said no lawn watering, and in a few weeks, we won't care about lawn watering anyway, but, we would only do that in the case where there is a moderate or higher drought level. That's what I'm thinking about, that some of these restrictions we ought to put in conditioned upon what the status is at the moment,
Sure.
as opposed to just doing it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but people are still out there thinking about lawn watering. You know, Craig flagged me down today and said, hey, I wanna get the meter and I wanna fill up my pond. And I said, well, Craig, we're in a moderate drought, so I don't think he goes, oh, okay, no problem.
Okay.
But, so I think a lot of people just don't realize how bad it is right now.
Right. Plus, we have a lot more water use in town.
And we have a lot more water use, right, Dylan?
It's still very busy. It's right in line with the busiest summers that we've had. And I mean, the month of August, the wastewater numbers alone, we were up 10% over the last 2 years. And that's with not a lot of, you know, the commercial business isn't where it has been for the past 2 years either. And the water numbers are right there in line with that. So it's been busy for sure.
Yeah.
Also, I might remind you that under the, you know, as we look at these drought conditions and what the recommendations from the state are, there is an RSA that does give the town the right to regulate under drought conditions, to regulate water usage, even in private wells. So that's something to keep in mind as well. So there is.
We have people with private wells in town?
No, but it does give the town the right to, you know.
Well, Craig, yeah, we could limit Craig's ability even at the golf course. He has a private well.
Yeah, so you can do that.
I mean, yeah, so.
Okay. So we, as selectmen, need to go look at those and put it on agenda for discussion next time, correct?
Yep.
Let's go back before we go forward. We did not do a calendar review. Our next meeting is on the 23rd, and we said we would decide whether that was going to be a Zoom meeting or an in-person meeting. What's everybody feeling about that?
I for one am okay with going to a personal meeting again with the appropriate caveats, at least for the select board members. Everyone, we can do a hybrid perhaps. It's easier to talk among us. That would be my main thing.
Mark, is it possible to set up our meeting room so that we're at least 6 feet apart from each other and also space the chairs out? And
yes,
I have to understand that if they want to come to the meeting, there's going to be limited ability to be in the room.
Yes, we can do that, and we can have a spot where people are watching it from other places if we have more people who want to participate, or we'll have the department heads in one at a time, or whatever we need to.
Well, let's try it out. Is everybody in agreement with that? Mike, you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm just wondering how many people we've had today on YouTube. Do we have any counts on how that's going since we've gotten away from?
Well, I can't look at it yet, Mike, but I can tell you after the meeting.
Yeah, I just want to see, because I think, as long as we can continue the YouTube and maybe have people Zoom in, if we can get that technology together.
There's 4 people watching the YouTube right now.
And does anybody know what we started at the beginning of the meeting?
Judy, is there any way to track if there's been others on right now? Yeah, so it varies. I
Okay,
mean, we've had 5 to 10. We've had 5 to 10 usually
Okay.
watched meeting.
And then there are people that get on and watch the whole meeting later.
There are much more of that. Yes.
Yeah.
And we can continue to tape it and we'll continue to run the YouTube side of it after the meeting, the way
Right.
we always have.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see if we can do that. I would be interested in setting a good example though, so if we can make sure that we're at least 6 feet apart.
Yeah.
Meeting and people wear their masks coming into the meeting, and I don't know that if we're 6 feet apart, once we sit down, I don't know that we have to wear a mask at that point in time.
Okay. Would you be open to even an alternate place if we had it in a more open space? Would that make you more comfortable?
like what?
Well, I'm thinking number one, the fire base, that we can get some real distance.
But can you get the camera wide enough to cover us in the fire bay?
Oh yeah, I think we can. We can look at it. I mean, I don't know if you want to go to that extent or if you're okay being downstairs. It's up to you.
Well, I'm okay with trying downstairs. I'm
Okay.
thinking is we have doors and windows that open.
Okay.
Yeah, let's keep some doors and windows open so we have the circulation.
Okay.
Thought they had a really good layout at the polls yesterday.
Yeah.
They had the door open at the end and people came in one side and went out the other, and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll do that and see how it works.
Okay. So in person on the 23rd.
Okay.
It's on the calendar, Mark, that we need to know about.
Planning board tomorrow. We'll talk about that in non-public here real quick. That's it.
Okay. So,
Yeah, the first week of October 7th through the 12th, I'll be gone, but that's not a meeting date. So
all
it
right.
is a planning board date though. Ha! Go get them, Rich. You got them all by yourself.
I may be gone that week too.
Yeah, right.
Let's
I think Washington needs you.
let's do a couple of quickies. We have the return of the health trust surplus.
Yep.
Total amount of $21,317.33. I'd like to move, first of all, that the town accept that money. This is Margaret moving. Can I get a second on that?
This is Rich, I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Margaret, aye.
Rich, aye.
Mike with a question.
Yeah.
What does NHRS stand for on the smaller line? We have Waterville Valley getting 17 and NHRS for 27.
New Hampshire Retirement System.
Okay,
The
gotcha.
people who are covered.
I'll say aye. Just want to make sure I do what I was eyeing to.
It's the
Yeah.
medical benefits for people that are on the retirement system.
Correct.
So the second thing that I think we should consider is that since some of this money actually came from the employees initially, that we ought to return a comparable percentage to them of this money that we've received. In other words, this is a refund of premiums. The employees pay about 1% in premiums and the town pays the rest of the premium. And I'm proposing that we return whatever the appropriate employee share is.
That would be $213.73.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Can we round it up?
Is that a piece?
No, that's total.
That's total.
That's the
It's only
total?
1%. It's only 1%.
I would say we could use that for an employee party or some kind of employee party or something. Because
Yes.
we're so healthy.
Let's just make sure that we do something with it that benefits the employees overall. It's not worth giving them 50 cents or whatever it's gonna be. Yeah,
Okay. No, that's good. We'll do that.
Everyone gets a new shirt.
Hey, why not? We'll do that for the winter. We'll get everybody a pullover or something.
How about we made it, Waterville Valley?
We made it through COVID.
So far.
COVID veteran as of today.
And the next thing we have is somebody that has applied for property tax credit.
Yes.
And he's not eligible because he doesn't live here. Is that
He's-
right?
That's correct. He's a property owner. However, he's not a New Hampshire resident. And New Hampshire residency is a prerequisite for receiving the veterans tax credit. So Sharon and I recommend that you deny it based on that, not on his service. Because he has qualifying service, so.
Okay. So when he becomes a resident of Waterville Valley, then he would be eligible?
Yes.
I did not know that. I did
Oh,
not know that all the people that are paying property taxes up here were not eligible for veteran benefits or veteran tax
If you
credit.
have another residence, you can't, another primary. You know, if this was,
This has to be primary residence.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I recommend, I move that we deny the application of James Collins for property tax credit exemption based on veteran status for the simple reason that he is not a resident of New Hampshire
Okay.
or Waterville Valley.
I'll
So
second that.
Waterville Valley. Yeah.
This is Rich.
And Rich seconds that. All those in favor, Margaret, aye.
Rich, I.
my guy,
Okay.
can I get back to the $213 for a second? Because I think I've got a great idea.
Okay.
Because this is health
Okay.
benefits and because we want to keep our people healthy, why don't we order town of Waterville Valley masks for everyone who works in town so they don't have to worry about buying masks. There'll be masks for everyone when they need them.
Okay.
Does that make
Okay.
sense to everybody?
Yeah.
With our little town of logo?
They're already on order. Judy had the website all fired up.
This will include the select board too, Mike.
Yes, we will include the select board. We're not gonna put the bug on it. We're gonna put town of Waterville Valley.
Exactly, town of
Right.
Waterville Valley.
That's what I want,
There
right?
you go.
Okay. All right. The next thing working down the agenda is the Northern Borders Grant Application Projects Update.
Yeah, the town core working group is gonna have a meeting next week, and maybe Mike can bring you a report after that meeting and discuss it at the next selectmen's meeting.
All right.
Okay.
FYI, Mark, I can't do Monday or Tuesday.
Okay. We just want to, find out where the working group wants to go, find out where you want to go as far as continuing on with this effort. I don't know, because the qualifications change every year. I
Right.
don't know that we're even gonna qualify in 2021.
Right.
But we might. So, I don't know if we want to reapply, fixing our application the way that Molly recommended, or if we want to go after a different application.
I think we keep on trying because what do we have to lose? The minimal amount of time it'll take to fix the application. If we hit, it's a home run.
Right.
Yeah, the thing that caught my eye was that she said specifically that they qualified for NDRC funding due to a significant decrease in the population between 2000 and 2010. I said, well, we are not going to meet that criteria anymore.
And that was the only criteria that we qualified under. So that's an issue.
Yeah.
But I did point out to her that the Northern Borders Commission should look at resort communities like Waterville Valley in all of the states, because they're all under the same kind of pressure that we are. So I think
we had the highest unemployment rate in the state for a while,
Well,
didn't we?
unemployment is one of the factors. So we may not qualify under population, but we may qualify under unemployment rate because we are going to be high now.
Right.
And I also pointed out to her that especially on things like the unemployment rate and everything, measuring who's living here in Waterville Valley is not the people who are really affected by an economic development type of project. It's the people who live in Plymouth and Campton and Thornton. Those are the ones you should be measuring, because those are the people who are impacted if we don't have business here. And maybe getting the ski area to share where their workforce has historically come from would be helpful. Because their workforce isn't really here in Waterville Valley.
Right,
So measuring Waterville Valley unemployment is not a thing.
right.
Because everybody who's working here is working somewhere else, like Washington, D.C.
For an example.
Yeah, that was pointed to somebody.
Okay,
So we'll see what the town core working group says, and we'll go from there.
okay. Personnel policy, social networking and blog posting.
Yep.
I read through it. I didn't have a problem with what was being proposed. Anybody else have any questions on it?
No, I thought it was very
That
good.
was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So do you need us to make a motion? Okay, so I move that we accept the proposed personnel policy change, section 20, social networking and blog postings as presented. Can I have a second?
I will second, Mike.
Michael second, Margaret moved. All those in favor, Margaret, aye.
Rich, aye.
Mike, aye.
Okay. Moving on,
I don't have the letters. Keep moving.
keep moving. Okay,
Sorry.
the capital project request.
Yeah, from the Hockey Academy.
We
That's
knew it was
just,
coming.
that's just keeping us up to date as to what they're doing, right?
Right.
Yeah, just subtract another 23, whatever,
24,000 or whatever. Yeah.
24,000 ever from the price.
And do we have to make any motion on that, or?
Yeah, I would move to just add that number to the appendix B number.
Okay, let me get the number again. Oops. I move that we accept the Hockey Academy's proposal to include $24,310 as a capital project, and therefore deductible from the ultimate purchase price.
Okay.
I have a second.
This is Rich. I will second that motion.
Okay, Margaret made the motion. Rich seconded. Margaret says aye.
Rich, aye.
Mike, aye.
Okay. Where does the information that we got, the inquiry that we got about Golden Heights fit in? Is that something we're doing in non-public?
Correspondence, maybe?
I think we're gonna table that. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah, I agree with Mike. I am working with town council on that issue right now.
Yeah.
And what we may have a teleconference with town council next week. Let me get some date. If you could send me dates and times that do not work for you by text or email next week, so that I can set up a time where you can talk in person. We are gathering information. I hope to have that by the end of the week. And Jim and I and town council can join you to talk about the road issue.
Okay, so essentially, if I understand this problem, it's that we're being asked the question as to whether the lots, the new lots that are being sold right now, or specifically one of the lots is in compliance with the half acre requirement? Is that-
It's more intense than that. Margaret, it's a lot deeper than that.
Okay,
Yeah, there are several issues
Yeah.
that we need to look at, and it's I've got to gather you some more information, but that was one of the questions he's asking. But I think it goes beyond that.
okay,
And so we need to get some info.
okay. Anything on board concerns and directives? Any other correspondence, Mark?
We had, I think we took care of both of them, right?
You did the noise ordinance one, the Matt's request.
Yeah, Matt's, and then, yeah. So, yes, we're all set for correspondence, for right now.
Okay, so I think we are ready to go into non-public.
Yeah, I need to, go downstairs. Actually, if we're gonna meet, next week, I don't think, that we do need to go into non-public. Let me just check my notes here.
Yeah, it'll be difficult for me next week, Mark, to
Will it? Okay,
meet anytime before 6 p.m.
okay.
I
But
don't have a life. I can do after 6.
I can do after 6.
I can do after 6 if I'm zooming, so
Yeah.
that's not a problem.
Right.
And the attorneys go to night meetings all the time. See, we're the exception rather than the rule.
Yeah.
So I'm sure. So just send me what doesn't work for you like that.
Monday and Tuesday for me, Mark.
Okay.
Complete. And could you send me the Zoom link for the planning board, please, for tomorrow?
Yeah. And so Rich, after 6?
after 6, any Monday through Thursday should be fine. Friday, I'll probably be coming back, so I won't be available. I'll be in a car.
Okay. All right,
And it looks like after 6 is good for me every day.
every day. Okay.
Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday for me.
Yeah. So it's gonna be Wednesday, Thursday after 6.
Yeah.
All right?
Well,
And this is for meeting with our attorney, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Margaret, I did want to point out, I'm sorry, Mark, you want to continue on this?
No, go ahead.
We're not gonna have a non-public then, we're gonna wait until,
I think we can wait until we're talking to the attorney.
yeah, I don't want to, we've already been at this for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Margaret, you were asking about, I had a little note, I'm sorry, I meant to bring it up under board concerns. On the noise ordinance, it talks about construction, I believe. It doesn't refer to other activities. We've been, as I understand from Mark and having a discussion with him some time ago about this, we've been relying on state law on this matter. So I'm not sure how we would, as a board, I think we'd have to change the noise ordinance, I think is what I'm getting at, in order to have different categories like weddings, for example.
Right, we have used the cutoff times for the construction as the times when we would go back to state law and say that it's a nuisance. So after 10 o'clock, even though the ordinance has said that that was for construction purposes,
Right.
we've used 10 o'clock as the nuisance time here in the valley.
And the construction ends at 7 p.m.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, 10 has always just been the actual
Yeah.
cutoff time that we've used,
Right.
so.
So-
Actually have a nuisance ordinance?
I don't remember.
I'm in.
Huh?
I'm in.
A nuisance, so I'd have to look.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think state law is a nuisance, issue.
We talk about nuisance in zoning. What is a nuisance?
Right.
Yeah, there's no ordinance.
I don't think there's a time frame there.
Okay, so the state law says 10 o'clock, but we can change that?
I don't know that it actually says a time. It is if people are causing a nuisance. I don't know exactly how it's defined. I don't think that there is a time. We have always just said 10 o'clock was the cutoff, was the nuisance.
So we determined that. We
I
determined,
think so, yes.
but it's not written down anywhere.
No, I don't believe, no, I don't
This
believe
is
so.
something we can modify for town meeting, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And fix that loophole, as it were,
Yeah.
and get categories.
There's one other thing that I just like a sense of the board before you go, and that's the payroll tax holiday that the president passed with an executive order. That is not a payroll tax forgiveness. That is a payroll tax deferment. And the payroll taxes would have to be repaid next year if we decided to do them. We have had employees ask that we not do it. I am not in favor of doing it. And I would ask that the board have the policy of the town be that we not do it.
I'm with you on that.
Administratively, it's
Yeah. Did I hear also that they have to pay it back in the first quarter of next year?
Yeah, it's only a deferment.
Payroll taxes next year. Yeah.
But it screws up everything. It screws up our quarterly reporting and everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
We
so.
won't run afoul of any state mandate here. Has anything come
there's
up?
no state,
It's not
no state
mandated.
mandate.
State hasn't done anything on it? Okay.
No.
Yeah, I agree with Mike and Margaret and you.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Need
So
a
I'm
motion.
gonna make it a administrative policy of the town that we don't.
Okay. Okay,
And Judy thanks you.
all right.
All right, that's all I have.
Are we ready to adjourn?
No, let's talk some more.
Yeah.
This is two
I
meetings.
love sitting in
Okay.
this kitchen chair.
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I will make the motion to adjourn.
Would that be Mike?
It's Mike.
And Rich will second that motion.
Okay, all those in favor, Margaret, aye.
Rich, aye.
Mike, aye.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
Aye.
Bye.
Take care.
Yep.
Bye, guys. See ya.
Thank you.